It's 2008. I'm 21, living in do or die, Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. It's me, my cousin Camille, and our roommate Tony. We decide on Brooklyn because all the greats came from there. Bomb-ass rappers like Jay-Z, Biggie, and Little Kim. When the real estate agent tells us the demographics are changing, I don't realize she's talking about gentrification. It's about to hit Brooklyn big time. That first apartment in Bed-Stuy is a cute three-bedroom place in a 2 to 3 story walk-up with a decent living room and a nice kitchen. My plan is to live my best Sex in the City life, but instead, I fall in love, get married, and become a mother for the first time. By 2010, I'm living with my daughter and husband, first in a basement apartment in East New York and then a rented room in Brownsville. Part of me wishes I had fulfilled some of my other goals first, because even though I'm married, I'm basically on my own when it comes to taking care of our child. I'm still in school and working, but my husband is not pulling his weight financially. My landlord notices this and threatens to violate him, so we move again because I want to avoid trouble. We're in the middle of a recession, the Great Recession, and if I didn't know before, I soon find out what that means. After sending out more job applications than I can count and going on well over 50 job interviews, but can't find any gainful employment, this is when I begin to focus on doing hair, which I'm good at, developing my skills instead of waiting for anyone to provide for me and my child. We get a little break after leaving Brownsville, visiting Trinidad for a month. When we came back, we move in with my husband's father, where after 2 weeks, we get kicked out. After that, we break up. I find a place in Canarsie for a while. I feel like I'm doing good by myself, but the slumlord abandons the property and stops paying his bills. After the first year, all the tenants stop paying rent, and we become squatters so we can keep the lights on. You might think of a squatter as someone who doesn't want to pay their rent, but it's the slumlords who make squatters out of legal tenants who are just trying to survive. Thankfully, during this phase, my daughter is upstate in Kingston, staying with my mother. It is impossible to get a good night's sleep in a really cold room. Even if you're wearing a sweatsuit and jacket and have covers over your head. Just one wrong move and your hand touches the side of the ice cold bed and you're jolted out of your sleep. Some nights it's so cold I can't even keep my eyes shut long enough to fall asleep. That's why sleep deprivation is a huge issue when it comes to homelessness and housing insecurity. This is where I learned how to heat the house in the winter without the oil company. So I'm gonna put y'all on real quick. So peep this, right? All you need to do is literally put a big ass pot of water to boil, turn on the oven around 350 degrees, maybe 400, depending on how cold it is. If you have a little space heater, combine all three, but you don't want to keep the oven on too long, and be sure to turn it off while sleeping. Once you've reached a desired temperature, use the space heater and the boiling water, and I guarantee you'll be sweating in no time. I decide to leave the Canarsie squat before they turn us out. I get to this shelter all the way in the Bronx, the main intake center for homeless families. They tell me that because I don't have eviction papers, they can't help me. We could help you if you came here as a family, they say, but as a single mom with a 2-year-old, they only let me stay one night. It's the middle of winter and I have no place to go, so I move in with my estranged husband, his baby mother, their son, and her daughter. My mother calls me one day from Kingston and asks, "You're not come claim your inheritance." Come to find out that my mother's sister had passed away, and my grandmother put my name and my younger sister's name on the deed. What this really means is that it's up to me to save this house. It ain't no fairy tale. It's been 7 years since I left Brooklyn and I returned to Kingston. I'm fighting to make this house a safe place that's safe and peaceful, a place for my daughter and me. We're dealing with a serious rat infestation problem because the restaurant Stone Soup next door refuses to cover their compost properly. And the city says there's nothing they can do about it. The back of that restaurant is the real Kingston City dump. The scent is so pungent and putrid, you can taste it in the back of your throat. This is the environment that my child and the children at the daycare next door have to play in. I reach out to the health department and they don't do anything. Then I reach out to the Environmental Protection Agency and the Department of Sanitations, and they can't do anything. Finally, I get pointed in the direction of the building department, and they put a stop to the situation. So the restaurant stopped putting out new compost, but they still don't clean the original mess. So it's still there to this day. There are still rats and rat feces all over the place. From September until now, I've seen 4 to 6 rats. I mean, like, I'm in the living room chilling and happen to look out the window and see 2 different rats on 2 different occasions running across the porch roof trying to find a way into the house. Last summer, we came home from a trip to find rat shit all over the bed in my daughter's room and including her toys. This also happened when we were away for 6 weeks and came back and my entire bedroom was covered in rat shit yet again. I can't leave my stove uncovered, or when I wake up in the morning, it will be covered in rat feces. I figured out how they're getting into the stove and have taped it off. And on top of that, each night I cover the stove with 2 clear shower curtains so that we can wake up in the morning to a clean stovetop. I even reach out to the mayor to see if something can be done because he's the head of the building department. And he tells me that they seem to have taken care of the problem. No, they did not. And now I get to be taken to court for leaving out mattresses, a fire hazard. But they can leave compost out for years. Isn't that a health and an environmental hazard? Imagine not being able to sleep because rats are running around your house, which in turn scares your child, so she can't sleep very well either. Sometimes I think this situation will break me, but I keep on fighting. I'm tired of always having to fight. For once, I want someone to fight for me, for us, for Black women and children. When I lived in Brooklyn, I knew there were 2 different realities happening in New York City. The uber rich and famous, and people struggling to find gainful employment and affordable housing. Now that I've been back in Kingston for a while, I know those 2 realities are happening right here in the Hudson Valley as well. With that being said, there are great people here who are some of the most supportive neighbors that I've ever had the pleasure of meeting and getting to know. Before, I felt like life was really kicking my ass. But now I feel like I might. I'm practicing yoga, Tai Chi, and meditation to keep my nerves calm and to remain on the right side of history. Having moved so much in my life, I've had to learn that home is where you make it. Home is where you are loved, accepted, wanted, not tolerated.